Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? I don't hear volume.
It's showing up when you talk.
Yeah, but it's not on the home on YouTube. Hello? Can you hear me? Oh,
There you go. It just delayed.
hello?
That's that delayed. Jesus. Okay.
Can you guys hear us?
we can hear you.
Can you see us?
Oh,
What was that?
I can see you, Kathy.
You can't see
Every-
Caitlin?
Hello.
oh, I do see Caitlin, yes.
Okay, great. Let me turn my camera on.
All right. Let's start the workshop. If everyone could stand and join me in the pledge.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you guys were talking, I can't hear you.
Making sure everything's working, Kathy.
Okay.
Just click on the right screen. Move your mouse up and click on the right screen. There you go. No, just click on it. Yeah. Should make it big. Are you good, Deputy?
Councilman Schiffer isn't going to be here tonight, or?
No, Schiffer sent a message. He's not going to make it tonight. We're good, Kathy.
Okay, great. So first we have Caitlin Choberka. I hope I pronounced that right. I should know how to pronounce it since I sit next to you every 2 weeks. So Caitlin is with CNS Companies. I know Caitlin because she is one of the engineers from CNS who shows up for the Town of Clay Planning Board meetings. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Caitlin to let her talk a little bit about her proposal and the solar work that they do.
Hello, everyone. I'm Caitlin Chaburka. I work, like Kathy said, for CNS Companies in their municipal department doing civil and site civil work. I work, as Kathy stated, with the Town of Clay as well as a few other municipalities, helping them provide reviews for their engineering submittals. I also work on behalf of developers as well as some of my colleagues in the municipal, site civil, and environmental departments, assisting developers with developing environmental permitting documents for solar sites as well as the site civil documents. We've worked on hundreds of solar sites at this point. On the developer's behalf, as well as I've provided reviews for other municipalities, reviewing assistance for projects they have submitted. So if you have any questions of me on our proposal, please let me know.
Caitlin, the question is, how many towns have you represented going against, exploring the solar projects, and what have you guys done for the towns?
I've worked with 3 municipalities reviewing solar projects. This is to ensure that they are compliant with state and federal regulations such as the seeker requirements. New York has several kind of jurisdictions within the stormwater, New York State DEC, as well as the New York State Department of Agriculture and Marketing. 2 of the projects I've helped review were on a smaller scale, such as the 5 megawatt. And then another project was actually through an ORES application where it was beyond the 5 megawatt project. And so we were reviewing on behalf of the town, although they kind of circumnavigated that process. So they were under an ORES application because of just the scale of the project.
And so when Caitlin's talking about ORES, that's Hemlock Ridge. Hemlock Ridge went ORES, and because a larger portion of it was in Berry than in Shelby, we really sort of relied on Berry to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But that's what Caitlin is referring to with respect to an ORES review.
Yeah, and to kind of expand on what Kathy was saying, in an ORES review, you have 30 days to review it versus a traditional municipal review. It can kind of go back and forth with the town for as long as, until you guys feel comfortable with the documents that are provided. So to kind of expand on some of that, some of what we're looking for, depending on the site, I know in a lot of these communities, the preservation of the farm field is really important. And so working and making sure that it's compliant with the requirements and guidelines as stated by the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets helps ensure that what's being installed will allow for the farm field to be restored back to agricultural use. On the developer side, currently I'm working on a project where they're actually including agrivoltaic. So they're implementing farming as part of the project, and that's something that you guys could kind of request of developers to consider, also for consistency to ensure that there's not going to be any impacts to wetlands with consistency with the DEC and stormwater requirements. In both my job with the solar developers as well as like my municipal work and my site development work, I work on a lot of stormwater projects. So I'm really familiar with the requirements as set forth by the SWIP process. And then we have a team of wetland scientists who are familiar with the seeker process and the environmental assessment forms and the forms that are required of that.
Caitlin, unfortunately, our audience here, they don't have the same proposals that we're looking at. So for their benefit and for mine, since I'm new to the whole solar thing, could you just walk through what your proposal is? Like, what is an engineering firm you're doing for us?
Yeah, of course. So as part of the application for the special use permit and the site plan application, the developer on the solar side will submit a whole slew of documents that can be really overwhelming for you guys to look at because there's a lot of lingo and logistics of decommissioning plans, operation and maintenance plans. There's visual assessments, noise assessments to ensure that there won't be significant impact to the neighboring communities and properties. There will be stormwater pollution prevention plans, which the developer has to kind of develop a means of treating stormwater so that it does not impact the development of the roads and the solar arrays, does not impact other streams and downstream properties. They will also be submitting an environmental assessment form and likely a wetland delineation or environmental assessment report to ensure that there are no impacts to environmentally sensitive areas, habitats for species that are of sensitive nature, as well as like pollution and noise pollution. And so it will be our job as in assisting you to go through those documents with our knowledge and experience in both developing and reviewing these kind of projects. To kind of summarize what they're proposing for you and make sure that it's compliant with all the regulations set forth by the federal and state government, just to ensure compliance, as well as compliance with your zoning code as it pertains to the solar, what's permitted in the town of Shelby for solar.
Thank you.
Could you go over some numbers, like what it's going to cost to do the whole project?
As far as reviewing on our behalf,
Yeah, what kind of fees are you going to charge?
so our proposal is asking for a lump sum fee of $11,500, as well as including the cost of attending meetings. If you guys would prefer an in-person meeting at $1,200 per meeting, this is assuming driving out. I'm located in the Syracuse office and attending the meeting in the town of Shelby. But alternatively, I would be happy to do it over Zoom if you guys felt comfortable with that. As far as the fee for reviewing the documents, this would include looking through the documents as the applicant has provided them, providing a review letter in response for the documents, and then it assumes that they will come back with another set of documents for the application that we will then review again and provide letters as many times or as needed twice for 2 submittals.
And if it goes more than 2 submittals, then
There's
what?
provisions where we could extend the proposal and for an additional fee.
But I don't see, am I missing it? Is that in this proposal?
I'm also, Caitlin, while you're looking, just going to take this opportunity to remind the board that New Leaf is paying for all of this.
Is there a limit from New Leaf what they're going to cover though, Kathy?
So right now we've agreed on a ceiling of 50,000. And if we come close or go beyond that, I've sort of made it clear to New Leaf that if we start to approach that, we may have to have discussions, but for now, there's a ceiling of 50,000.
So they really don't
to kind of-
know. They really don't know how much it's really going to cost if they got to have extra meetings and all that. I mean, we don't have no definite number then, right?
In my past experience, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but depending on the nature of the developer, it is normally covered in two submittals, but that could be dependent on a number of factors. As far as the provisions for additional fees, I'm looking through my proposal and I didn't add a provision for that, but that could be modified. Or it could be an additional proposal for for additional services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Caitlin, I just want to be clear on this. The 11,500 includes the first two meetings?
Yes.
It says it's, attendance at municipal meetings beyond the two meetings is $1,200 a meeting. So 11,500 is all the paperwork review and two meetings.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. You guys got other questions?
No, I was just wondering if we were paying the I was just wondering if we're paying the 1,200 for the two meetings, and there has to be additional meetings with different language and stuff put in it, I was just wondering, are they still gonna be over the 1,200, or are they gonna be more? Because you said you had to, adapt to that as you went along.
So the cost of the attending additional meetings would be $1,200 as just the fee for just attending. As far as more submittals, that would be an additional services. So if they ended up submitting three plus submittals to get approval, then we would be looking at an additional services agreement contract.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Caitlin?
No, I'm good, Kathy. Ed, Linda?
I'm good.
No, we're good, Kathy. Thanks, Caitlin.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Caitlin. I will
Thank
see
you,
you in a
Kathy.
couple
I'll see you
hours.
there.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. So Ram is in the waiting room from Larson. So hold on a second.
Good morning, good evening, rather. It's 5:46.
Hi, Ram. How are
Catherine,
you?
how are you doing?
Good. So the town of Shelby board is on.
I can't hear you, so
How about now? Can someone from Shelby speak and see if he can hear one of you?
Hey, Ron, can you hear us?
for some reason I can't hear. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes, but you can't hear us?
So I'm not sure how do I increase the volume. Everything seems to be fine here, but I can't hear you. You can hear me. Okay. So
Can you hear us, Ron?
now I can hear.
You
I'm
can hear
not,
us now?
now I
You can
can hear
hear?
you. Yeah.
Okay, all right, great. So this is Ram Srivastava. How'd I do? Was I close?
Good. Ram is easy.
Okay, from Larson Engineers. And so Ram, if you could just, talk a little bit about your proposal and the type of solar projects that you've worked on for the board for a few minutes, and then we'll let the board ask some questions. That would be great.
Yeah, the solar projects themselves, uh, in the last 10 years or so, we have been doing a lot more community solar. And community solar typically is a project that developer is building to provide power to the subscribers. So it's basically the power is sold in the grid and then the power is supplied to all the members. So whatever the capacity is, there are beneficiaries. We do a lot of work with developers and submit the documents that you have seen. There are a lot of other considerations that projects like these, uh, economic impact. We have been doing a lot of municipal work from day one. Larson has been in business since 1955. Environmental engineering and climate are major areas that we are very much involved. We have local experience working with the village of Medina on the wastewater plant. So all the solar panels you see on the plant at Medina were something that we worked on. Different DPW wastewater plant. And the idea was to make electricity with the rooftop units, but larger systems are typically on ground. The proposal I submitted, this is for two projects. They are next to each other, but there is a limit of 5 megawatt per larger size project. So they have divided and submitting two projects. 5 megawatt is a significant investment on the developer's part. From the village perspective, town's perspective, you're looking at 10, the budgets, there may be somewhere an estimate, I'm not seeing that. But I just looked at all the documents they have provided, and then looking at the process of going through that, there are a lot of considerations for the value of the project, property value significantly changes, and from the value from tax point of view or host community benefit point of view, there are considerations. So in my budget, I was looking at what do we have to do so that this project, while it helps the environment and produces the power, how does it help the village on a long-term basis? What are the benefits for the folks? Because large amount of land has been used. So we are looking at in the review, representing you and looking for opportunities where the municipality benefits, a town of Shelby, I should say. I just keep thinking of village of Medina. But really, what's in it for us and how can this project be on a long-term beneficial? And that's why you see documentation by the developer and their engineer. So we will be reviewing the documents, but looking at the impacts and the questions that other agencies, DEC is a very important agency and their approval and review is important. Utility power company itself is important player because they have to have the capacity to receive this power and they do the studies. And so we'll be looking at multiple documents, going through the process of public meetings. You will be holding meetings to inform the people, explaining to the community what are the long-term benefits and why should there be a support. So we are ready. We've done projects of this kind, 20 megawatts worth of project, which have been reviewed by other engineers and built. And then we have done project for our own municipality, like town of Scottsville or village of Scottsville has a solar system done about 10 years ago. So we have a lot of experience and doing the things right and seeing things done that are not right. So we'll be able to prevent anything long term from your perspective and yours. So that's the quick introduction. I'm an environmental engineer, graduate from Clarkson College. I've been doing this for 50 plus years and have the experience to look at what could be important from your perspective. That's the intro at this stage. I don't see you guys, but I can say hello.
All right. Any questions on from the board?
Ram, can you like tell us what kinds of things you said you've, what things have you found that have created problems that you've caught? Like what things should we be concerned about?
Well, stormwater management is a significant issue. How is the soil? Because from DEC perspective, there should be no runoff with sediments and things. So stormwater pollution prevention plan, those are the issues. As far as the DEC is concerned, seeker approval, you'll be issuing a notice of no significant impact if that's the finding. You'll be sending these documents to multiple agencies, the planning board, the local, so you get review from different folks and their perspective. DEC is very important, and the utility reports, and those are very important. They have filled out the seeker form. They filled out the long form and the document, so they will provide the information. I haven't gone through it, but I can understand that DEC's impact will be, for example, water wetlands is a big deal in some cases, and there are wetlands on the site areas, and how do you deal with that? You don't want to be, you want the project to be such that it fits into the site, it doesn't have issues related to other development, other folks which live nearby. What's the impact on them? They're the one who will be coming to the public meeting. So have the developer looked at their perspective? What are the, from elevation, view, shed, things like that? There have been projects built right in front of housing and nobody checked it out. And then once they were built, all the property owners were up in arms that it affects the view shed, it affects the property value. You want it to be an asset for everybody, not a liability in that sense.
Thank you.
Kathleen, I had just a comment just to get feedback from the municipality, the town board. When you look at projects like this, there is amount of power being made and connected to the grid. Who is the recipient? Is this a project that's being directly fed into the grid? There are no local village residents and town buildings and facilities that could benefit by buying solar power and cheaper power. Is there any consideration, or this is just for a utility scale where all the power is sold directly to the grid and you're just hosting it? I'm not sure it was clear in the documents.
I'm not sure that we're clear at this point either. I think the intention is for it to all go to the grid, but certainly to the extent that there might be a way to get other benefit from it, right? That could be worth raising.
Yeah, the grid connection, like a utility scale project, large scale, is like a wholesale, directly sold the entire power. They don't deal with the individual people. Solar is a great asset. Prices have come down. So it's something really which can make a great difference to municipalities. And I didn't see how indirectly, directly it will. There is certainly a financial aspect of it that you get paid a host community benefit fee. There may be other consideration for financial gains, but people who live in the area, there should be some support that promotes or helps other people to also benefit. Um, These are all municipalities' benefits that could be part of the project. We need to look at it and come up with something so that it does more than just be a site where power is made and sold to the grid.
Have you done any small scale projects other in Orleans County other than this one? Or
We have done projects, small would be like 115 kW was for village of Scottsville. We have done roof mounted and site mounted municipal projects as municipal engineers. But we have done 2 to 5 megawatt project like this, where the developer is going to the town and we have helped them get the permits, work with the engineers and review engineers. And then we are there during the construction to make sure that from the ways construction is being done, how are they handling the silt and sediment control to make sure you don't have any environmental damage, which you could get involved with the DEC and somebody else finds it and starts finding. So we have a list of project from here to, basically uh, Finger Lakes area, there are projects in St. Lawrence County. So different size. Typically, it's 2 megawatts to 5 megawatt because the scale is much better on cost per watt basis. And these are
Orleans
all
County?
operating.
Yeah, have you done any in Orleans County at all, though? I'm just wondering if you've done any local ones.
Well, Orleans County will be Medina. Medina has sewer plant. We did at the wastewater plant. We did the highway department on site. Most of the time, the developers are selecting site, going with the engineer and looking for the permitting process with the community. But the conversations between the community and folks are, what else can you do? What else can this project do to help the community's economic development?
I mean, so it does look like when I look at that map on the completed solar project attachment that you sent, it
Yep.
looks like there are a couple of green dots in Orleans County. So maybe the town of Williamson looks like it might be in Orleans County.
Williamson is in Wayne County. We may have had,
Okay,
like,
way wrong.
yeah, no, the project in Orleans County would be Albion. There is a project at the Albion wastewater plant. And they were looking at doing at a water plant, but that did not go through, but at least the wastewater plant, Albion is installed. So that's directly, and Medina is the other one. There were other sites which had good potential, but locally, there was not enough support to be able to go through the process of screening the sites and go through. But it's a great project to do. We have projects we have done in Genesee County, in Geneseo area, which is Livingston County. We have projects in Wayne County. We have projects in Ontario County. So these are all projects which are solar. Some of them are for farmers. In Wayne County, we have a bunch of apple farms who had land and space and they wanted to do, so we were able to help them.
One other question. So you mentioned the engineers were involved in the actual installation. Is that part of this proposal as you're doing this for us, or does the developer have his own engineers that watch the installation and make sure they're compliant?
Yeah, the developer has its own inspectors, but a quality control or review, our proposal includes visiting the sites as they are going on, just to make sure that we don't see anything which could have your liability. So there is time included there, time included during the public participation process with public meetings and things like that. So we are there to consult at every stage till it's done and grid connected. But it's more like an oversight rather than being there every week. That's what their job is. They're spending dollars and they have quality control. We're just looking at it from your perspective.
And so it looks like your proposal includes maybe 3 rounds of document review and attendance at 3 meetings.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to keep track of the time separately because these projects are individual projects. They have to be, so we'll be doing individual project billing and things like that. But it was a project with 2 sites, so we just gave one proposal covering both. And we don't know the difference between the 2 sites environmentally, which one is more, has issues that somebody may have, more wetland issues or more slope issues. Typically, when you have ground slope such that rainwater could erode the soil, you got to be careful about how much disturbance to the ground is being made because DEC is concerned about disturbing a certain size of area. So sediment, soils, water runoff, controlling the affluents, and in general, just how it sets into the site from the neighbor's perspective.
So this proposal will cover both sites on the
Yes.
same, area.
Ron, if we have to have extra meetings, is that going to be billed at an hourly rate that you got? Or how would that be if we needed extra done on the contract?
Yeah, the same rate, we can give contingency or something that could be, the rates are the same. We just look at it because when we are putting time, that's how our accounting department books the cost based on hours and we give details of that. But you cannot predict which will have some issue come up. So it's the total we are fixing. It will not exceed for both projects more than that.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Good, Kathy.
All right. Thank you, Ram. Appreciate it.
Thank you and good evening to you all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Okay, and we're just waiting for James Pippin from Haley Aldrich to sign on. I told him 6:10, so I expect he'll be jumping on here in a few minutes.
$25,000.
Hi, Jim. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't realize I had muted myself.
No problem.
So everybody, so the town board, we can't see the town board, Jim, but they can see us.
Okay.
So this is Jim Pippin from Haley Aldrich. And so Jim, I'll just let you, give an overview of your proposal and then let the board ask some questions.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So yeah, from the information I got from Kathleen, I put together the proposal and I made some assumptions about the level of effort, and the two projects going separately. That's why there were two separate costs. And the two processes separate out as well, one for the seeker review in support of the planning board, and then the special use permit with the town board. I sort of kept those as separate processes and consultations. And then, assuming that they were going to move along and be two discrete projects with two different points of interconnect, I kept them as separate. So that as an assumption, I don't know if that's true or not from New Leaf's perspective, but the costs might be higher than what they've seen because of that. In general, my experience and the level of effort and the labor time is, I've worked with another town in Western New York on the town of Villanova on a wind project, got them through seeker. I actually worked with that supervisor for many years. She and I were the two longest poles standing in that room. We were there. I worked with her since 2007 on that project. It was just finally built and completed last year. That was a long process. And, I will tell you, we had many different developers come and buy that project, and the level of effort seemed to always be the same. It's, the developers want to go fast and they want to get things in quick. And, so that's sort of where I've just, these are not to exceed fees. They're not lump sum. So if they give us a good application and they provide us with all the materials in a clear, concise way that we feel like they've done a very good job of demonstrating compliance with all the regulations, and that, it's a hard look at seeker, then we can, hopefully we don't have to use all of this budget, but this is there just as like a not to exceed. If, and the other side of the coin is if they end up, not giving us what we need for you to make the decisions that you need to, then it can cost more of our time and effort to, go back and forth with them. So that's sort of, I don't know if you want to know more about my background, or I'm not sure what everybody's interested in, so I don't want to keep talking if anybody has any questions. I don't know if they can hear me, maybe.
Yeah, do you guys have questions?
Yeah, can you just
Okay.
clarify? So, Jim, you broke this out into each project, right? The 5 megawatt project is not to exceed 81.9, and the 4 megawatt looks like it's not to exceed 81.9, so a total of 163.8.
Correct. If they were to do those at two different, of course, there would be efficiencies if they were to send things together and they're moving them along. I wasn't sure if that's how they were doing it with the two different POIs. I wasn't, I guess, we could probably find some efficiencies if they were to combine them, as, sort of, I guess there's still going to be two separate projects. So there is going to be still double of, your time to review the public hearing. I guess that's sort of a strategy question, but yes, they are two separate costs and projects and I look at them as really the 1 megawatt difference. I couldn't find a lot of savings, or it's about the same level of effort.
Could you
Does it make a difference? I'm sorry, Linda, just let me ask you, does it make a difference if the town board does the seeker review?
If they were to do the seeker review themselves?
Yes, because the town board declared itself lead agency.
Oh, as opposed to the planning board?
Yes, as opposed to the planning board.
So no, I mean, because the seeker documentation is going to be separate from, and I am assuming, and I don't know how the town feels, but, I don't know if they're going to do an expanded EAF or if they're going to actually request an EIS. That I also didn't have that information. So if we get to the point where either one, it's going to have all these support studies. So that's going to support the seeker determination and the finding statement. And then the special use permit is a separate set of documents. So really, if it's the planning or town board, or the planning or the town board, I think it's the same. It would be the same level of effort.
Jim, could you
And-
tell us about your background and
Sure.
what other maybe local projects, if anything, in this area, like
Sure, I
Western New
can-
York? Great.
Yep. So I'm in Rochester, New York. I grew up here in Victor, and I know the area real well. I went to school in Maryland, though. Started my career down there. I've been doing environmental consulting for 30 years. I moved back up to Western New York in 2004, and immediately got with another firm and was working on many of the renewable projects in the state. So a lot of the, whether they never were built, all the proposed and ended up not, like you guys may be familiar with the Lighthouse Wind Project to the north. I worked mostly on the developer side as a consultant. And like I said, I worked with the town of Villanova, but I've worked on Lighthouse Wind. I've helped out with many projects in the southern tier, Cohocton that's up and running. I worked on many that were proposed down near Allegheny and Olean. And I worked for many of the different renewable, Maple Ridge up in the North Country. I helped to work on that one. Worked on the town. I worked with the Zodos, a smaller project in the city of Geneva, and building those two turbines to support a manufacturing facility. Worked on solar all across the U.S. and I'm working now all across the U.S. on renewables. But in New York State, I've worked on quite a few, at least probably 30 projects that whether they were proposed and shelved eventually, and then some that are built. But my background is natural resources management, so with a focus on wetlands and natural resources, so in forestry work. So, but got into the environmental compliance by way of that as well. Hope that helps.
Anybody
Kathy?
have any other questions?
We're good, Kathy.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
All right,
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Yep.
So at this point, I would suggest that the board go into executive session so we can discuss each of the candidates, and then we can come out and vote on somebody.
And then when we come out, we're going to finish with like the IT and cybersecurity. So there'll be more meeting, I guess, after we come back out.
Yes, I have a plan. I have to go to the town of Clay planning board meeting that starts at 7:30. So that's why I would like to do this now. And then obviously I will stay on as long as I can. But in the event that I needed to jump off, I would like to go into executive session and take care of this piece now.
I'll make a motion. We go into executive session for legal advice. Kathy?
Well, essentially, you're going into to talk about proposals and choosing a consultant. So we're going to be talking about them. So it's not strict. It's not like having an employee, but it's sort of that same category.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
sorry, Lynn. Thank you. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, everyone. We'll be back in a little while. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We're back. Yes, Kathy, we're back.
Okay, so you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Alrighty. We discussed the 3 engineering proposals, and we came to a unanimous decision. I'll make a motion, resolution to accept the submitted engineering proposal from CNS Engineers. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Sites?
Yeah.
Ms. Lemina?
Yes.
Mr. Zelini?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Mr. Schiffer's absent. That one was the 11,500 with 2 meetings and 1,200 per meeting after the 2 meetings. So 11,500 for the project, and that included 2 meetings.
Yeah, and then I think any additional document review would be whatever their hourly rates are, which are probably similar to the hourly rates in the Larson proposal. I think those are pretty standard engineering rates for municipalities. But we can get that from Caitlin.
Do you want to let her know to send the paperwork?
I will do that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I think the next thing we want to talk about was cybersecurity. What do you guys have on that?
I guess I have a couple questions, not just cyber, but also like IT around that, I guess. What kind of setup do we have? Do we have one server? Are we cloud-based? Do we have a mixture for what we're using?
I know we have a server room, but I don't know exactly what we have, Linda. I'm writing this down.
Okay. And what about like our security systems for the building, like access to the building, the cameras? Where is that stored on the cloud? Is that stored here on servers? And is it the same server? Is where our software is housed? And I apologize, I'm not an IT person,
Yeah,
so
no,
sorry, people.
It's in the same room, but I'm not sure if it's on the same system. But that's question number 2. I'll get answered.
Okay, and what about storage? Like, do people have the ability to store files and things on their hard drives on their computers, or is everything stored on a server? And my concern with that goes to people's ability to delete things that maybe are town property that we should, if it's on a server, it's getting backed up daily. Who's the admin to the server? Who can add and remove programs, files, etc.? I think for me personally, I'm not ready to move forward with an IT or cybersecurity policy after trying to read what we were provided, I think by CH or maybe this is the current plan that we have right now. But I personally would like to see CHPC come in, have Joe come in, and then whoever our salesperson is at Convergent, have them come in and kind of give the board some background on what we have. I mean, Scott, you mentioned last week that the cameras, and I don't know about the, exterior security, but and, access to the building. But the cameras were put in almost 9 years ago. Things have changed. Is that what we should be using? Should we be upgrading? Is it good enough? Same with all of our IT stuff. I mean, I think what happens is you tend to put stuff in and then you don't necessarily keep up with it. So I personally would like to see both of those companies come in and explain to the board what we have. Are we adequately covered, or is that where we should be, and are we covered, and have Joe and or the security company help us to write a policy that's going to give us what we need, instead of four or five people that maybe don't understand it as well trying to develop that policy.
No, I agree with you 100%. That policy was what CHPC, I guess, I'm not sure who they did it with, but that was their policy they submitted to us. The last board, I think, worked with CHPC on that, and then he just updated it. But I agree 100%. Security, server system, we need to get briefed by them.
So that's probably another workshop,
Yeah, workshop.
right?
Yep.
Any chance we can schedule it, try to get that done for next week so we can get it in before the June meeting? I personally would like to move it along.
I can,
Probably have to see what his schedule would be, right?
yeah, I'll have to check with CHPC, see if he's available.
We'll try to put a date together.
We could probably get both at the same time if we could.
Yeah. I'm available every night next week. Or I could probably, I could do 4 o'clock if they wanted to do it a little earlier. I could get here by 4.
What day would that be?
Any day next week. I'll make myself available. And then the other thing that I think we should also be, while we're thinking about that, is, I don't know, back probably in October, November of last year, or at one of the meetings last year when we were talking about inventory, we talked about laptops, computers, printers, and so on. And because they were underneath our fixed asset threshold, we weren't really keeping track of those. I did reach out to CHPC. Unfortunately, they were not able to give me any more without them doing a lot of work and having it be a cost to the town. So they provided me just dates, a list of the date, the invoice number, and a dollar amount. I don't know, I did.
That's incorporated in I had Beth incorporate that.
How does she know what this, I mean, this list is for us to determine were their computers purchased in this time period? And if any of these charges were computers, does she have a running list of how many computers the town owns?
Yeah, she got a list of all computer inventory for the town.
No, her list, I'm sure, is what she saw when she walked around. I want to know, what did we purchase, and do we still have what we purchased? Because
Is that the list from CHPC, what we have purchased?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a list of every invoice they've ever charged us for.
Okay.
So I think this unfortunately doesn't tell us
What it was.
what it was. So she's going to have to do some research and go back and pull these invoices out and look and see. I mean, personally, for me, I highlighted the ones that were over $400 or $500, figuring that a laptop is probably going to be $400 or $500 at least. But the ones that are $1,000, there's a good chance that's computer equipment or a printer. So she's going to have to pull those invoices out and look at them. And what she needs to do is make a list of what we've purchased, and then go back and be sure she can find it. Yeah. The point of the inventory is to make sure that we still have what we paid for. So hopefully, I mean, it's not going to be done in a day, but
Well, the list isn't, it's just 3 pages?
it is, and I highlighted maybe 30 invoices.
Okay.
Darlene, you have records, the accounting records in there, like all the bills. So this goes back to 2019. So it's within 7 years. We should have the boxes. Okay.
Do you have another copy of that, Linda?
I emailed it to everybody a couple months ago, maybe. I can send it again.
Oh, that's the report from CHPC?
Yep.
Okay.
And
yeah,
like I said,
she's
it
got-
doesn't
She's got that already.
tell us what it is, but you can, based on dollar amount, at least go and look up
Invoices, yeah.
For all.
Kathy, do you have availability next week if we were to get those two companies to come in?
Yeah, I don't think I can do Tuesday, but I think other than Tuesday, I'm okay.
Darlene, is there court on Tuesday night next week? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so maybe that's good that maybe Tuesday doesn't work then.
Yeah, and I looked through what CHPC provided, and I had reached out to Joe because I wanted to talk through some of it with him, and then I got tied up with my trial and preparing for trial. So I didn't get a chance to speak with Joe, but I do think it's a good idea to have him, come in and talk to the board. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the policy as it was written, right? Like, what he had said to me in an email was it is kind of their standard policy that they use, not just for municipalities, but also for businesses. So I think maybe part of that conversation can also be, does the town of Shelby really need like a 50 to 60 page IT policy, right? Or is there a way to sort of, make it a little more, user friendly or user appropriate for the town?
Yeah, scale it to fit the town, yeah.
Right.
And during that, I think, I know we're changing over to a .gov website, but does that mean we're like overhauling anything on the website?
Actually, I looked over the weekend. All of our emails are .gov. Now the town website is .gov also. It's already switched over.
Okay, but I still think, like, I'd like to look at the website. I just don't think we, like, for example, our agendas, we write over them so you can't go back and look. If somebody wanted to look at a meeting from, I don't know, or 6 months ago, they can't go back. They'd have to go back through all the minutes, and they can't see the agenda for what was going to be targeted at that meeting. I'd like to see, like, the agendas retained.
I think I can talk to them tomorrow. I think they can just add another block that says agendas like it says minutes, and then we can just start saving all of the agendas. As far as going back, I'd probably have to scan every single one of them, which would be very time consuming. But going forward,
Correct. That's
I
fine.
could definitely put
Yep.
agendas on, it's like we do
Where it
minutes.
saves them.
Yeah, and like by talking about the website, I've got a new block now called calendar. And for the next 3 months, you're going to see when the office is going to be closed, when it's going to be like planning board meetings, zoning board meetings. So I'm trying to get that up to date too.
Perfect. And then while I was looking through there, two different places, and I went to write on here where I got these, but there's one place where I think you go under department and water, and then there's another one on the main page. There's a block, I think, that says water, and they have two different rates. One says $600 and one says $530 for the same thing. It's the same sheet of paper or same form. It's just they have two different rates on them.
Okay, we'll have to check it out.
So-
And that's for, what's that for?
You can give those to him. I don't need those. No, it's just water. Yeah, just water.
It's for a meter? Oh, a hookup, water hookup.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a block on the home screen where I got one of those, and then the other one I was looking under departments, and when I went to water, the other one came up.
Okay.
So
Sure.
While we're talking about water, a couple weeks ago, Rusty and Beth did go for a ride to go to shut water off because people haven't paid their bill. And there was a customer who did come to the door with money and said, she didn't want her water shut off. So they brought the money back. Beth brought the money back to me. But I told her she really can't do that because she's not deputized. So just going forward, I told her she could, they can tell them, they need to come to the office to pay. I know at one point, previously someone had, done the same thing, and we were told they can't because they're not deputized. So, just so you know that, in case she says something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and I don't think, right, and I have a concern, just in terms of taking cash in that manner. I don't think that's a good practice.
No, she shouldn't be taking it, no. No, you get all the water payments in, right?
When people come into the office, they pay either myself or the deputy for the money for their bill, whether it be water, tax, or whatever, because we're the only two that are able to take that money. Nobody else in the office is able to take money from the customer. So, and she didn't know that, so it was an honest thing, and she was saving the woman from having to come down here, to pay her bill, but I just said, it really shouldn't happen anymore because it can't happen where she's not deputized.
Yeah. So I'm good with that, rewriting a whole new cybersecurity policy. That's fine. What else did you have on that, Linda? So anything else on cyber?
nothing.
Okay.
No. Well, so we're going to reach out to both companies, right? We'll get them both in to kind of let us know so that we can adopt a policy that makes sense for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. And I'll put all these together, and then we can get a hold of CHPC to figure out what they want to do for the pages and all that, and update and change the stuff, because you usually call them to change the stuff, right? Yeah,
Can you
okay.
make sure you're in your? I have gone online and watched meetings before, and it is very difficult to hear the board. We really have to be better about the mics because people can't hear when you're listening online.
Kathy, do you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else this evening.
Alrighty.
I appreciate everyone's time and questions with respect to the engineers. I think we'll be in good shape for the review of the solar.
All right, thanks, Kathy. Can I get a motion to close? Well, it's a workshop. We don't have to do motions, do we? Get a motion to close the meeting?
I move.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then motion's carried. Thanks, everyone.